Welcome back, everybody. It's Monday.
Happy Monday.
Happy November.
Oh, yes.
Yep. It's officially Christmas.
Yes. It's snowing as we're recording today.
Yes, it is.
So
Yes, it is.
We quit.
Yeah. So there's no hope left for. We are here to recap/review #UFC Vegas 12. Dom, the start of a new week. How you feeling?
Feeling good. Not as upset as I thought I was going to be, which is probably a good thing. Last night was tough for me, but I'm here, ready to get rolling. We got a big week ahead. We got our special episode back this Wednesday. Mm-hmm. Another big fight night preview coming Friday.
Right.
And it's a new month. It's time to get going.
It's my birth month.
It is your birth month.
Got a few more weeks before we get there, but Sagittarius season's a little bit ahead. But we'll obviously be reviewing all the main card fights that happened on Saturday night. But y'all know what we gotta do first.
They better know.
It's time for the news.
The news. There's not much.
Not much.
That's okay, though.
But as far as fight announcements, we just have official word that our main event for UFC Vegas 14 will be Islam Makhachev versus Rafael dos Anjos. This was supposed to happen on the main card for UFC 254. RDA got COVID. The fight was pushed back to November 14th. Just official. It's official now.
Yes.
We had heard it was going to happen. We even talked about it on here. But it's officially the main event of that card.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on that?
UFC Vegas 14 on November 14th. This is a good fight. I think it's set up for Makhachev to have a coming out party. I'm shocked that they made it a main event, but I'm not opposed to it. I think it's a good platform.
I think it's definitely a good fight for a main event. I mean, I know...
And a guy like RDA who's just been a staple for so long.
He's a former lightweight title holder. I mean,
that guy that Dana always says, like, if you can beat RDA, you're for real.
Right.
Like, you're good at what you do. So it's a big challenge for Makhachev, biggest name on his resume, but it's hard to go against any of those guys out of Dagestan. This is essentially the next guy up from AKA, of course, where Khabib trains at, the next guy up from Dagestan. Yeah. This is going to be their push to say, here is Khabib's protege. Yeah. And the next champion.
They've already been kind of doing that on Twitter. They've been saying like, "Oh, it's the next wave of the Dagestan fighters." It's definitely being set up like that. But RDA's no walk in the park, man. That guy's still been competitive, even if he's not quite the at the champion status that he was a few years ago. He's still super competitive. He'll still pull out performances like he did against Kevin Lee like a year or two ago. You just never know. Mm-hmm. And Islam is very unproven as of now. I mean,
this is far and above his biggest challenge in the UFC.
So I'm very excited for it. I think it's a good main event. Might not be the most well-known main event, and it'll be interesting to see what they put underneath.
That's what I was about to say.
But I like it. But that's really all we have for fight announcements. As for the rest, we're going to start with Dana White's been saying some interesting stuff.
Yeah, this is kind of all from Dana White post-fight media scrum, basically. Yeah. So.
And I'm going to let you actually set these up because I've actually, I have not listened to Dana's media scrums either before the fight or post-fight for this card that happened Saturday. So you're going to know more about what he's talking about here, so I'll let you set the scene.
Well, the first things first, and it's what we touched on Friday, but now it's official. Israel Adesanya will be moving up to the light heavyweight division, 205 pounds, and challenging Jan Blachowicz as his next fight.
It's interesting. I know we weren't super for it, but at the same time, I mean, we see the writing on the wall here.
Yeah, can I lay this out here? Yeah. This is, for the UFC, this is the play. They are going to do Izzy versus Jan, and what I would assume February, March time frame, which was what we mentioned on Friday. If Izzy wins, it's finally time. Israel Adesanya, John Jones, in July, International Fight Week, might go down as one of the biggest fights ever in UFC history. Could be even for that, they're going to label it as the GOAT talk, because at this point, John is 26-1 with really that loss shouldn't count. Izzy would be 21-0 if he beats Jan Blachowicz with 2 belts. That's the play. But there's a guy standing in the way of that play, and that's Jan Blachowicz. You can't sleep on this guy.
Look, I'm just saying. I've been guilty of it.
Yeah.
I've said this multiple times. This 4-fight streak he's been on, I have counted him out every step of the way. Literally thought he was going to lose the Rockhold. Thought he was going to lose the Jacare. Thought he was going to lose to Corey Anderson. Then I thought he was going to lose to Dominic Reyes. Right now, I think he's going to lose to Israel Adesanya. But you can't... The guy, look at that performance he put on against Dominic Reyes, a guy who had made John Jones look so vulnerable.
Yeah.
Polish power is for real.
He's in his stride right now, 37. Again, some people just hit their primes at different points in their careers.
Yeah,
it's
true.
Again, what you always say, the fight years over the actual age that they are. So, Jan is no cakewalk for Izzy.
No.
Especially considering we've never seen Izzy at 205.
No, and Jan is going to be the bigger guy.
He will be considerably larger.
Which is not good. I mean, I know Izzy's always been a skinnier guy, even at middleweight. But that was at middleweight, and now he's moving up 20 pounds.
Yeah.
Where he was already a skinnier guy at his division. Now he's moving up to a bigger...
Yeah, I'd imagine 205 is about as heavy as he walks around on a day-to-day. I can't imagine he gets any heavier than that. So.
Yeah, I would say he's going to be cutting next to nothing.
Yeah. This is very interesting, and like I said, that's kind of the play I think they're going for here from the UFC standpoint. And if you're Jan, you're probably thinking, all right, let's shut this shit down here.
Let's go.
So, again, we mentioned that we weren't all for it on Friday, but now that it's basically been confirmed by Dana, sign me up.
Well, what's funny is I think once I really thought about it more, kind of after we recorded, like why I wasn't super on board with it, it's less because of Izzy. Like, I think Izzy has earned the right to do that. Because right now the guy staring at him at middleweight is Robert Whittaker,
which is a rematch
starched a year ago. But for Jan, he hasn't defended the belt.
That's where I was trying.
Well, and I think that if Thiago Santos or Glover Teixeira, whichever one wins this coming Saturday, I feel like they've more than earned a title shot.
Yeah.
But, it's not looking like they'll be getting one anytime soon, which it sucks, but it's...
And I think it was Brett Okamoto. We love some Brett from ESPN. Brett. He asked then, where would that leave Izzy in terms of being a middleweight champ, but he's going up, and what if he wins 2 belts? Dana basically said, Izzy's a guy that wants to stay active and fight a lot, so he doesn't see a reason why he can't do both kind of thing.
They say this every time.
There's only been one person, essentially, that's done it back and forth, and that's Amanda. Henry did it, but not at the same time. You know what I mean?
I feel
Amanda
like
is the person.
Cormier, I don't even think Henry did it. Daniel Cormier.
He defended both, and DC did it both, but at the same time, it's only been Amanda, and that's only a 10-pound difference. This is 20 pounds.
Yeah,
Can you really go back and forth like that?
I mean, maybe he can, and I don't doubt that Izzy wants to stay active, but Dana said the same thing about Conor when he won his second belt.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's going to happen that way. But that leaves an interesting dilemma at middleweight if we're looking at a vacant title here soon. Robert Whittaker versus Paulo Costa, anybody?
I mean, as bad as Costa looked against Izzy, I guess it would be that, right? Unless Jack Hermanson beats Till convincingly.
Sorry, that's definitely got to put up.
But then you got to think, if Till beats Hermanson, then it's like, wait, we just saw Till and Robert.
Yeah.
It's like the middleweight division is full of rematches all over the place. We'll talk about that later when we recap the show here. But yeah, it's a huge fight. I'm not opposed again, and now that it's official, it's just like, well, we're gonna have a hell of a preview next year.
Yeah, true. Moving on from there, I'll let you continue because again, this is
more of the same. It was honestly just a bunch of questions last night in the post-fight press conference. He was asked about Conor and Dustin Poirier. There's not much here. We know this has been in the works. He basically just said it's all but done to his knowledge. Just no official date or location. But so the fight itself is done, and it's going to be at 155 pounds.
Good.
Which, thank God. If that would have happened at 170, I would have been very upset.
Yeah.
They would have made literal 0 cents.
I'm glad to hear that it's pretty much done because I've been super pessimistic about it happening.
The problem is there's so many big fights that are on the horizon here in this early 21 time frame. So it's like, what's going to be the main event where? Because we've heard about Stipe versus Francis. Now we've got Izzy versus Jan. We've got Conor versus Dustin. We have Jorge versus Colby still in the works, but it's been really quiet lately.
Right.
I don't know what's going to happen at the beginning of 2021, but I'm excited.
Volkanovski versus Ortega.
Yeah, that's going to be around that time frame too, I'd have to imagine.
So much, there's so many big fights that can be put in those first 3 months.
Yeah, early 2021 is going to be big, I think.
Yeah. The problem is Conor's obviously going to be a main event.
Exactly.
You're not going to put any title fights underneath him, apparently.
Yeah.
So that takes 1 month,
exactly.
No title fights. So then you got the next 2 months where you got all these fights. That's why I don't think Colby and Jorge will be a main event.
Yeah.
Because I just don't think that if they want to do it in that time frame, there's no way because you have all these title holders that need fights.
I think they need to do. We're going off on a tangent here. This is all, again, related to Conor Dustin. Conor Dustin headline a pay-per-view co-mained by Michael Chandler and Tony Ferguson.
Yeah, that would definitely that'd be big.
That's absolute just fireworks there.
And the other question here, because there's another point which I'll introduce here. Dana said, even though Khabib had that very heartfelt, emotional victory at UFC 254 where he announced his retirement from MMA, Dana says that he feels very confident that Khabib will return to go 30-0.
Yeah.
Said he thought that Khabib was speaking out of emotion. And basically confirmed that the lightweight belt is not vacated.
Yeah, it's not vacated just yet. He said Khabib's going to talk to his mother. So.
Yeah. Here's my thing. If Khabib comes back, I don't see it being a...
There's one fight for me.
Is GSP.
Yeah. I
think that's probably what is being planned to happen.
And some sort of just super fight at a catchweight.
So I don't think... So I think either way, this lightweight belt will be vacated.
Yeah, I do believe so.
Now,
Dana said they don't plan on vacating it anytime soon or having any interim title fights, but I think they're just leaving Khabib as champ until we hear.
Yeah, I just think they're trying not to plan for something until it's official.
Yeah.
But that does raise the question because you know that they would love to do the Conor versus Dustin fight for a vacant title.
That would be the easiest thing for the UFC to do.
But will they commit to that by that rumored
we've got,
January 23rd?
What, 2.5 months or over 2.5 months. So who knows? As much as I love the Conor Dustin fight, I hope it's not for a vacant belt, but it's the easiest thing for the UFC to do because we know they don't like to do the tournament style things. We'll see what happens. The lightweight division has even more question marks now than it ever really has before. This division's insane.
Well, I thought we were finally getting somewhere. Once Khabib announced his retirement, I thought it was pretty clear that there's a 6-7 man race right now. But now Dana's kind of muddying the waters by being no, Khabib's not retired, or he thinks he'll come back. Or
if he comes back, it doesn't need to be against anybody at lightweight. There's nothing else.
I mean, I'm assuming that there's some hope that he'll do the Conor rematch. I don't know if that's really what's in the cards here. It's hard to say.
GSP is interested. I think he really is deep down. He wants it. 165 pounds?
I have a feeling, though, that if Dana's able to get that kind of commitment from Khabib, that means that whatever fight he's planning to do to go 30-0 is probably already all but confirmed.
Mm-hmm.
It's just it's backroom dealings.
Yeah, yeah.
It's interesting.
Oh, yeah.
But that is the end of...
Oh, I guess there's one more thing. I forgot to put it on here.
Okay, go ahead.
Tough.
Oh,
have to mention this.
Yeah.
This is huge. I totally forgot to put it on the
No, you're
news.
Good. So during the broadcast Saturday night,
it was awesome.
Yeah, they had a little video,
tease.
a little trailer announcing that The Ultimate Fighter is going to be coming back on ESPN Plus in March of 2021.
Yes. Season 29.
The two divisions being showcased being bantamweight, men's bantamweight, and men's middleweight.
Yes.
So, no coaches were announced.
Correct.
What are your thoughts, Dom?
This is big, especially now that they're on ESPN. It's, I think, even bigger, even though it is ESPN Plus. It's a big platform. This is a show that's been a staple for the UFC for so long. It's been a couple years since we've seen a season, so now that they're able to bounce back and get going here. I saw they put the listing last night on the broadcast. The auditions, or not auditions, but like for fighters to apply to be on is open until November 13th. So it's a 2-week window to get their fighters applied for. So I imagine they start sometime in December or January, and episodes start in March. I'm so excited. It's for anyone who's never seen The Ultimate Fighter, you're in for a good treat. It's very fun.
Yeah, I won't disagree with that. I think that the problem, so The Ultimate Fighter is a huge staple of the UFC. It's, in a lot of ways, it saved their entire brand. We've talked about that in detail in other episodes. But I think that the format, while at one time was very popular, that reality show competition format, I think in today's television it's not quite as, at least if they bring it back in the same way.
Well, I think that's why I think this long break helps a little bit with that kind of played out factor.
Well,
too.
I just hope that they change it up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just think that if it's the same kind of format, I'm going to get tired of it pretty quick.
It'll be interesting to see how they do it, too, because they're going to be filming this during the pandemic.
Yeah.
So I wonder how all that's going to work.
Yeah,
it'll definitely have its twists compared to, I think, older seasons. So but I'm very excited to see who the coaches
We're excited that it's happening because our whole plan here is in March, once this show is brought back, our Wednesday episodes are going to be, during that time frame, reviews and recaps of the Ultimate Fighter episodes.
Yeah, our special episodes during that time will be the recaps of those episodes. We don't know what days the show will be airing yet, but that's going to be fun.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be something different. It'll give us a big gap to take it easy on our big list of special episodes, but still bring 3 episodes a week.
Yeah.
Because these are going to be weekly that happen, so it's going to give us multiple weeks where we still have 3 episodes. It's going to be fun.
I agree.
Just break down each episode, what happened, the takeaways.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dig into it.
Agreed. Should be a good time.
That's all.
That is the end of the news.
The news.
And we move on to our recap / review of UFC Vegas World. Headlined by Anderson Silva in his final fight, we assume.
I hope.
Against Uriah Hall. I'll just break down the results of the main card, and then we'll start back at the top. So our first fight of the main card, lightweight action. Thiago Moises getting the, I would say, somewhat of an upset victory, a unanimous decision win over Bobby King Green. Then our second fight, Kevin Holland getting that just nasty-looking TKO win over Charlie Ontiveros, the verbal submission. Ontiveros being kind of slammed on his neck.
Yeah, so something happened with his neck.
That was in the first round. Then we had Greg Hardy getting a big TKO win in the second round over Maurice Green. Kind of a sloppy fight there, but I predicted it correct, so, I'm happy. Our co-main event, Bryce Mitchell getting a unanimous decision win over Andre Fili.
And the camo shorts.
And then our main event, Uriah Hall did take out the Spider, Anderson Silva, via TKO in the 4th round. Nearly finished it at the end of the 3rd round. That was kind of when
that's when the
wheels fell off a little bit. But we'll start back from the top. Thiago Moises versus Bobby Green. Dom, break it down. What happened?
This was the most competitive, closest fight, I guess, of the night. The main event was pretty close, but then it obviously ended in a finish. So this was a very good fight, very back and forth. Both had their moments. Thiago's known as a jiu-jitsu guy, but actually looked pretty comfortable on the feet. He did get Bobby to the ground occasionally, but never got anything going. But I had him up 1-0 at the end of that first round. Going into the second, it was much of the same. Bobby escaped a heel hook that Thiago was working for like a minute, it seemed, and he never got it locked in. Bobby looked comfortable on the ground, so they kind of were comfortable in both of their opposite realms. Right. Bobby's that striker, and Thiago's a BJJ, but both look comfortable on the feet and ground, vice versa. The second round was insanely close. It could have went either way, so much so I actually scored it 10-10 on verdict because it was just so tight. And then I even wrote another point here. The fight was literally so hard to score. It was back and forth. The third round, Thiago had about a minute of ground control, but outside of that, it was up on the feet. And Bobby, I felt, got the better of the exchanges on the feet. I don't really remember what my scorecard said. It was literally insanely close. But Thiago did get it 29-28 on all three judges' scorecards, unanimous decision. Verdict, I'm going to bring verdict up all the time now in this episode. We need to work with verdict. If you don't know, that's an app where you can basically score cards live, and they take all the global data from people that score, and then they announce it after fights. This fight was so close, and on verdict, Bobby Green actually won the scorecards. Of course, that doesn't matter. It's the judges' scorecards that matter the most. Great fight. I wouldn't have been surprised if Bobby had gotten the decision, and I wasn't surprised that Thiago got it either. Very good fight. Very entertaining. Yeah. To start the night off, too.
Yeah, was that the fight of the night for you?
Yeah. No, I think Bryce and Andre Feely was. Yeah.
I was definitely disappointed for Bobby, for him to not be able to get that big win that likely would have meant top 15 next. But Thiago showed quite a bit, man. He definitely showed that he was more game than I think maybe I was giving him credit for going in here.
That's two big names in a row for him, too. Michael Johnson was his last one, now Bobby Green. I still don't think, what I saw of him, I don't think he's ready for top 15 yet. I think he still needs one more. But he does have the talent. He's only 25 years old. He
is. I will say Bobby outstruck him 3-1. It was like 90-30 total strikes, significant strikes. Not that matters, because Moises definitely had the edge when it came to the ground. And that's not, it's a round by round basis. So
yeah, and Bobby had like the higher output too. But I felt the judges felt the bigger, like more significant shots Thiago got. So it's just weird. It's all that comes down to who's scoring the fight that night. Really.
Yeah, I mean, I had Bobby winning, but I didn't think it was a robbery by any means. It was so close, and it's a tough one for Bobby, but I'm sure he'll be back. And for Thiago, that's the biggest one of his career.
Yeah. So
you definitely think that he's close to that.
He's right there.
Yeah. But I will say I think he does need at least one more before we're talking top 15.
Yeah.
Moving on from there, we got Kevin Holland, Charlie Ontiveros. Not too long of a fight here, only 2.5 minutes, but what was your takeaways here?
I do want to give a shout out to Charlie for taking this fight on such short notice.
3 days. Yeah. 3 days notice.
UFC debut on the main card of a huge ESPN fight night. Kevin Holland's good, man.
He's good.
He's very good. Charlie had no answers. It was complete domination from start to finish. Kevin ultimately gets this slam. And during the slam, I guess Charlie felt something pop in his neck, so he verbally submitted to the ref. 2 minutes, 39 seconds into round one. Kevin Holland, with that win last night, becomes the first person in 2020 with 4 wins, and he undoubtedly will fight for a 5th time before the year's up, in my opinion. And he now has the second longest win streak in the middleweight division right now, which is very interesting. So I'm intrigued. After the fight ended, he had a little bit of beef with Israel Adesanya. Israel was in the audience because he's there for his teammate to coach on the Contender Series next week. Thought it was rather strange, but apparently there's some beef there that none of us really knew about until last night. But Kevin...
I think it's just two guys jawing at each other.
Yeah. It's not close right now. That fight is still a very long ways away if that were to ever happen. For Kevin, I want him to fight Mike Perry on November 21st because we know Robbie Lawler fell out and Kevin didn't even get touched in this fight. But Mike Perry came out with an Instagram video, I think, and said that Tim Means picked up the fight to fight him instead. Maybe they can scratch that real quick and go back to Kevin Holland. I think Holland versus Perry is absolute fireworks.
I do too.
But regardless, Holland's, I think, ready for the top 15, but we'll probably have another fight before
he's just so active right now that it's like it's hard to find him that entryway to the top 15. I do think a fight with Ian Heinisch would make a lot of sense.
I was about to say the same thing. Ian's actually fighting this coming Saturday.
Yeah.
And I think if Ian were to win, that would be a really good fight to make.
So I like that matchup, but Holland versus Perry is definitely...
that's fun.
I actually wouldn't mind seeing Holland rematch Darren Stewart either.
Yeah.
Because they kept saying they would run it back.
That fight was so close. Very good.
Holland didn't think he won.
Yeah.
And he even told Darren you'd let him run it back. So I wouldn't mind seeing that fight again in, a couple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So interesting. But, yeah, shout out to Charlie, man. That's a tough loss to take.
I feel like the UFC will give him another chance.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, he didn't really have a ton of time to show much, but, 3 days notice, guy showed he was game.
And not like he came in on an easy fight either. I mean, Kevin Holland's legit.
Yeah, he's a beast. But yeah, I have a lot of respect for Ontiveros for taking that one.
I saw Israel actually posted a picture of him at the hotel.
Yeah, he did.
Or something
Yeah, he earned
so
the chance to respect.
Yeah,
so.
Very cool.
Yeah, it was good to see that he's okay too. Whatever had happened, it wasn't too bad, I guess. With that, we move to our Sloppy Joe fight of the evening. This fight, I don't think I could have predicted any better than I did.
You did do well.
Greg Hardy getting that second round TKO over Maurice Green. What were your thoughts here? Sloppy Joe fight of the evening.
Greg had decent groundwork. He dropped Maurice in the first round early on and kind of pounced on him and laid on top of him for a while.
Done a lot of hammer fists.
Yeah,
sloppy hammer fists.
Yeah,
but
he dominated the whole first round there. But after they got back up to their feet, nothing really happened. Then in the second round, Green got dropped by. It wasn't. I mean, any shot that lands by a heavyweight's going to hurt, but it wasn't anything too crazy. Dropped him. Hardy went in for the finish. Green contested the stoppage, but he kept getting punched, so it's like I was fine with it.
Yeah.
It wasn't a great fight anyway, but it was a minute, 12 seconds in round 2. TKO for Greg Hardy. I don't know.
Let's start by talking about the fight week, the lead up.
Yeah.
So Greg Hardy, man, he's okay. First, he comes into the UFC, and it's already a controversial thing because there is some stuff with him outside of the octagon. Don't want to get into it too much because I don't think me or you know enough about it. But let's just say it's enough to where you have to question his character.
Mm-hmm.
So it's controversial that the UFC brought him in. He has not made it easy on himself either. His debut was on the very first ESPN Plus card. That was the one headlined by Dillashaw and Cejudo. Gets DQ'd. Hits that illegal knee to a downed opponent. I believe that was Alan Crowder.
And they put him on the main card, too.
Yeah, it was...
I don't think he's never not been on the main card.
I think it was the co-main, I think.
Yeah.
So he gets DQ'd there. That's disappointing. It was his debut. I think it was his professional debut, too.
Well, he had been on the Contender Series twice.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And got the easy wins there.
Yeah, he was. But it was his debut as far as, for the UFC. Then he had another win that got overturned later on because he used an inhaler.
Yeah.
Now, his corner claims that they asked the ref or someone from the commission and they allowed it. But whatever happened there, it wasn't supposed to be allowed because you can't use an inhaler.
That was the first time I had ever seen anybody use an inhaler during a fight.
So he gets reversed back to a no contest. And then this week, he fights a heavyweight. Heavyweight goes from 206 pounds or 207, whatever.
206. Let's say it, 206.
To 265.
Yes. Big, you got a lot of room to work with.
He weighed in at 266.5 pounds. He missed weight for heavyweight.
Yeah. You're actually allowed to weigh in at 266, 1 pound over if it's not a title fight, and he still missed that. Granted, he did make it.
So you can weigh in twice.
Yeah, right.
There's like a time.
You get an extra hour, I think, if you miss or something.
There's a certain amount of time that the weigh-ins go on for.
Yeah.
I don't know how much time it is exactly, but I believe if you weigh in early enough, you can get more time to weigh in again. But yeah, he was given an hour, weighed in at like 264.5 pounds. But if he would have missed, again,
he would have been the first ever
UFC heavyweight to miss weight.
Yeah. So that happened leading in.
If you all can't tell, these things are piling up for him. To where it's like, okay, is it really worth it to even keep this guy around? Because there's some disconnect.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if he's just not getting it.
There are aspects to his skill set that have improved since that fight back.
He showed me a lot with the Volkov fight.
Right.
A fight he took on late notice.
That's probably his best performance overall.
A fight he didn't take a ton of damage in that fight, and he held his own.
The biggest problem is his gas tank.
Yep.
It's not good.
No, there was a lot of jokes being made.
I mean, and we're talking about a guy that used to play in the NFL. So it's kind of surprising.
At a high level.
And I know that this sort of cardio and MMA is way different than all the other sports, but it's just a little surprising, I guess. He trains with very great coaches. He was once at ATT. Now he changed over. He's with Rashad Evans. Right. So he has all these great cornermen. The athleticism and tools are there. It's just like, can they put it all together? Yeah. I don't really know. He's 7-2 now. He's getting to the point where he has to fight top 15, but I feel like if he were to fight them, he can't win most of those fights. I don't know. All you got to do is you throw him in, you test him, and see what he can do.
I mean, I guess he showed enough in that Volkov fight to where, like, right now, you probably...
I mean, he has to, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to act like I'm shitting on him. I mean, he showed some things, but what it's coming off to me is...
What if he fights a guy like Tai Tuivasa?
That's...
Sort of makes sense.
Yeah, or Blagoy.
Yeah, just something... I don't know. Go ahead. Sorry, I interrupted you.
It's tough to really know where he's at. Because what it's really coming off to me as is this is a guy with unparalleled athletic ability.
Yeah.
But he has the technique of someone who's only been doing MMA for a couple years.
Yeah.
You know, you saw a guy like CM Punk who came in with no MMA background and he looked awful.
Yeah.
But he also has nowhere near the athletic ability.
No, not even close.
So that's why you're seeing, I think, Greg Hardy do so well. He's kind of getting by on that. But when you have to start to depend on that, more of that technique and, I guess, fight IQ, I think he's just going to always...
Like, how far does he want to take this thing?
Yeah.
Essentially. He's still relatively young.
I will say I respect that he seems to recognize that he's not...
Yeah, he does.
Like
that is very true.
He said he thought he's not been happy with his career so far. I can respect that he does recognize that, like, he still has a lot of work to do. But even in this fight, I didn't see it. I mean, yes, he finished the fight, like, all the respect there. But I still didn't see enough to where it made me go, oh, this is a different fighter now.
Yeah. And that's kind of what he was leading into. That's what we were going to see. So I think that fight, actually, the more I think about it, him and Tai Tuivasa makes a lot of sense. Neither one are ranked. Tai just came back after a 3-fight skid and beat Stefan Struve.
Yeah.
TKO. Greg Hardy's a TKO machine, it seems like. I think that's a good fight. They fight each other, and then it's on to the top 15.
The winner of that one, top 15.
I think that would be cool.
I like that.
And
that would be a big fight, too.
It would be a very big fight.
Considering where their placements are.
That would be like a fight night co-main.
Tuivasa is very popular, especially from that Australian market. Yeah. And then you got Greg Hardy, who is at least... People want to watch him lose.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I wish we had more to say positively about that fight, because overall, I mean, he won the fight. It's just, he didn't look great. And for Maurice Green, I mean, I didn't see anything out of him. And this is a guy he fought Alexei Oleinik just maybe 2 years ago.
Yeah, 6'7", big guy, long reach, long limbs, but just didn't really show much.
It showed, like, whenever he was being hit with power shots, he couldn't really take it. Never really showed much offense on his own.
I think he's 9-5 now.
His defense wasn't even very good. I mean, once he was being dropped, it's not like he was really defending himself very well. And then he was trying to contest a stoppage. It's like, I don't know, man. I just didn't see a lot out of him.
Yeah, the fight was You did call it well.
Sloppy Joe fight of the night.
Yeah, it was just one of those fights.
Yeah. But with that, we'll move to a better fight here. Very technical fight. Our co-main event. This was the fight of the night, I think.
I think for myself, yes.
Yeah, and I would agree.
Yeah.
We both predicted that as well.
Yeah.
Bryce Mitchell does get the unanimous decision win over Andre Fili. 29-28 on one scorecard, 30-27 on the other two. What were your takeaways here? I feel like there's a lot to talk about.
Dude, Bryce Mitchell, he's good, dude. Yeah. His grappling's next level for that division.
It really is.
Because we're talking about a guy in Fili that is an incredible wrestler that trains with all those guys at Alpha Male. They're known for being great wrestlers, and he didn't have the answers. Bryce is very good, and his stand-up was significantly improved, I thought, from his last fight. He was doing some side body kicks. He was throwing question mark kicks and axe kicks. I'm like, what the hell? Yeah. They weren't all landing, but the side body kick was actually relatively effective.
Output was promising.
Yeah, he landed a couple with his hands as well. Fili did still have the advantage on the feet, but there wasn't a point where Bryce felt uncomfortable or like got hurt. He's an absolute machine on the ground. His just cardio is relentless. He's relentless. I actually scored at 10-8 in the round 3.
Really?
Yeah. I thought it was... He had over 4 minutes of control time, landed a lot of offense that round, because rounds 1 and 2 he kept going for a submission, so he would kind of... I don't want to say he was just laying on top of Fili, but he was working that positioning.
It would just slow down.
Yeah, so he wasn't landing a lot of strikes. Round 3, he was just letting it loose.
Yeah.
So I scored at a 10-8. He had 7 takedowns in 9 minutes and 34 seconds of control time. That was a personal record, 7 takedowns, by the way. He won 29-28 on one scorecard, 30-27 on the other two, unanimous decision. He now has the third longest win streak at featherweight. There's two fights. Number 1, Sadiq Yusuf, because I love Sadiq, and I think that's a striker, grappler. 11-1 versus 13 or 14-0 or 14-1. I don't know what the hell if he has a loss or not, but either way. Option 2, Ryan Hall. That fight's insane. Yeah. If we're talking technical on the ground with submissions and grappling, him versus Ryan Hall is insane.
Yeah, I mean, all props to Andre Fili for taking this fight. This is definitely that's a guy who just
Fili's still right there.
Fili's right there. But he always seems he doesn't really he loses to a lot of really good competition, and I mean I know that's disappointing for him because he trains with Alpha Male. Like he's definitely got the team behind him. He's got the talent. I think a lot of these guys they'll take fights that appeal to their style where they can have an advantage of some sorts. He just doesn't do that. He just takes whatever fight's given to him.
Yeah.
So you gotta respect him, but you wonder if it kind of hurts his growth, his ability to get to that top 15 at the same time. For Bryce, I mean he was showing me more on the feet than I had seen previously. But it was more the output rather than the actual effectiveness.
Just relentless, dude.
But his ground game is just another level. Oh, you tell he had Fili just guessing the whole time. So he's ranked 15th right now. Ryan Hall is definitely a fight that is in my right there in my brain where I'm like, if you're talking about ground game, those are the two best ground guys in that entire division.
Yeah.
So the only other fight that Yusuf would be fun too. Don't get me wrong; those are two guys on the come up right now.
You like Burgos, don't you? Mm-mm. Oh, I thought. Sorry.
Edson Barboza.
Oh, really? You think so?
If you really want to test Bryce Mitchell,
that is.
Because here's my thing with Bryce Mitchell. I love the guy. I love his attitude. I love his personality. I love his ground game. He's a wizard on the ground.
And camo shorts.
Yes. But I question if he is not able to show a complete game. What I mean by that is his stand-up. What truly is his ceiling in the division?
And Edson will be the one to test that. And
Edson is a guy who has had a tougher go of things, but he just had a big win a couple weeks ago against Makwan Amir Khani. He's ranked 14th, right in front of Mitchell. That's a guy who's fought everybody, Barboza. Mm-hmm. Barboza is a terrifying striker. Test him.
Yeah, ideally, I'd like to see Edson get Sadiq, because that was originally scheduled, then Bryce versus Hall, and we're all happy.
Right.
But regardless, any of those matchups is fantastic.
Yeah, I need to see Mitchell tested on the feet.
And it's another veteran.
If I want Mitchell tested on the feet, maybe I need him to go up against someone who can stop the takedowns. Mm-hmm. So maybe someone like Dan Ige even, or Shane Burgess.
Well, and surprisingly, I think Barbosa did incredible against Malkani. Is that how you say his last name? Amir Khani. Because he's known as an incredible wrestler, and he didn't get taken down once in that fight.
That's true.
If we're talking the veteran experience, incredible striker, and can have good takedown defense, Barbosa is a very good matchup. I guess it's more so for Barbosa, because I know he said he wants to challenge top 10, where I was like, ugh. But it's Edson at the same time, so
he's put his licks in.
Yeah, so it's just, I think Bryce would take it. Will Edson take it? Right. Maybe. But it is a great fight. I actually like that idea.
And now we move on to the main event: Uriah Hall, Anderson Silva. I'll just start this one by saying, because I know you're gonna have a lot to say here. Uh-huh. My takeaway from this fight: Anderson Silva looked very good early on. He did. He even probably won a round. But it just appeared that the moment that he was hit clean, everything just slowed down.
I knew it was literally 8 seconds left in that third round, and that was his best round. He was going to be up 2-1.
Yeah.
Arguably 3-0. The second round was really close. But the third round was definitely his best round. It looked great, and he got clipped with 8 seconds left.
It's almost
as soon as that happened, I knew he was going to lose.
He got almost too comfortable, started lunging in a little bit.
Yeah. As soon as he got dropped in that round,
even
though it didn't get finished in the third, I knew it was going to be over.
Yeah. And Uriah is the kind of striker where it doesn't take too many.
Yeah.
So he ultimately TKOs Anderson in the fourth round. I will say that despite Uriah getting a huge win for him, it didn't. Dana had a lot of negative things to say about that, which surprised me.
I felt bad for Uriah. To be honest.
I mean, I think it's a tough sell for Uriah here. He's going up against someone who is
his idol,
a hero of his.
Yeah, he broke down in tears after the fight. That was tough.
I mean, what pisses me off is you didn't hear anybody say shit to Israel Adesanya when he couldn't finish Anderson Silva.
Yeah, but Uriah finished him and gets.
And what? Because he lost a round or two? You're gonna act like he's not shit? I just don't know if I agree with that.
And we're big fans of Dana, but he was not happy with Uriah. I'm not saying he didn't do much.
He said he regretted giving Silva the fight.
Well, he regretted having Silva fight at all. I think that was more of an Anderson thing.
Yeah.
Uriah didn't do much, but I think a lot of it is he's just such a technical guy. He's just a little gun shy, and in his losses especially, he's known to be that way. Dana kept hammering home last night in the press conference, they need to get him to put output.
Yeah.
He was very against that second round. They both landed, I think, 11 total strikes each. I feel bad for Uriah because I think this was already a tough task for him. He didn't want to have to be the one to do this to Anderson.
I know.
But he was in a main event slot. He's ranked 10th. He has the talent. I think, again, Uriah talked about this all fight week. Right now, it's more mental for him. He has to get his mind right. And we're seeing this with Tyron Woodley right now. He won't let his hands go. We've seen this with fighters. Rashad Evans even touched on it with him late in his career. It's the mental thing right now, and if Uriah can overcome that, he's still right there.
He's ranked 10th.
He's 36. He can still make a run. And I think a fight, again, we may never see him and Izzy, but on paper, that's a pretty fun fight. Mm-hmm. I am going here, Uriah Hall rematches Kelvin Gastelum, who's ranked 8th. He's coming off a couple losses now in a row. That's a rematch from way back at the Ultimate Fighter finale that Kelvin won via split decision. I think at both points of their careers right now, it makes sense. Kelvin's on the downslope and needs a win. Uriah's kind of catapulted himself up there one final time into those contenders. It makes sense for both guys. That's the number one fight for me. There's obviously more guys here like Brunson and Weidman, but Kelvin's the one I think would be most interesting.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to it at all. Uriah, I felt bad for him because he's had a tough go of things this year. He's had 2 big fights for him that
huge names, man.
Both of them dropping out due to getting COVID. First one being Jacare, that was at UFC 249. Big deal with that because Jacare tested positive.
That was the first athlete
at the hotel. But then he was scheduled to headline a fight night against Yoel Romero.
Yep.
Yoel tested positive. Ultimately, that's going to be the person I pick for him next. I'm going to say Yoel.
That makes sense.
Just because it was originally booked. Yeah. And, Yoel's ranked 5th.
Oh, yeah. If he were to beat Yoel, he's right up in the mix.
So I'm ready to kind of push him even faster. I know you're right. I know. He didn't show... I mean, it's not like he looked bad. He finished Anderson Silva, but with Silva, man, it's so hard to pinpoint.
I don't care how old the guy is. That's only the second time he's ever been finished with punches.
Yeah.
That's still saying something.
Yeah.
I don't care if he's 45 or 25.
Right.
That put Uriah, by the way, he's tied now for 3rd most KOTKOs in middleweight history with 7.
But Dana seemed to have such a bad taste in his mouth.
Yeah,
I wonder if he's going to make Uriah fight someone like...
It was odd.
Edmund Shabazian or Martin
And maybe it was just emotions flying high. He felt bad because Anderson got finished, and I don't know. And then for Anderson, that's it.
This is it.
Stop. You don't need... There's nothing else to prove.
Yeah. This is it until...
He's definitely done in the UFC. That's 100% fact. But he needs to go nowhere else. This is it.
This is it until the end of 2021 when he's headlining a 1FC card against Vitor Belfort.
Please no. Please no. He's got 2 sons on the come up now that are fighters. Maybe we see another Silva one day in the UFC. With a belt.
What lineage?
That would be insane, wouldn't it?
But it wasn't a bad fight by any means.
No, it was the typical Anderson. He was doing with his hands. And shit, he was landing shots on Uriah, good body kicks, leg kicks. He was going up and down everywhere.
Yeah, it really looked like Anderson had the better output.
Yeah, man.
Uriah was definitely, what's the word?
Way more conservative.
Yeah, he was just very slow to the punch.
Mm-hmm.
Just seemed like
the whole fight felt like a feeling out.
It felt like he really didn't want to hurt Anderson Silva.
Yeah, and
then of course the moment he threw something, it hurt him. And it's to me that just shows that this is it for Silva.
Even though Anderson's never gotten hit much, so his chin never took much damage. He's 45, so I don't think at this point it matters how many shots you've taken. It's not going to take much to put you down.
Yeah,
and that's the end of an era.
Yeah.
That's one of the last OGs, my friend.
We closed the book on #UFC Vegas 12. We also closed the book on Anderson Silva's career.
Yep.
The one and only time we get to talk about him.
I hope it better be the one and only time.
Yeah. Until he's headlining a 1FC card one of these days.
I'm just going to say, he's the reason that I'm even sitting at this studio doing a podcast right now. Yeah. If it wasn't for him, who knows if I'd even be a fan of the UFC or MMA at all. But that was the guy. Chuck Liddell introduced me to it. We turn on the TV, and there's this guy named Chuck Liddell, back in 04, 05. When Anderson came in 2006, that was it. That was it. I saw this guy and was literally mesmerized by what I was witnessing on the TV. He looked like a superhero.
Yeah.
So.
Well said.
Thank you, Anderson Silva.
Yeah. But Dom, since we have closed the book for the rest of the week.
Yes. Lay it out.
Wednesday special episode time. We made y'all wait a week later than we wanted to.
Ooh. Hey, it hurt us too.
Yeah,
it hurt us too.
Who's next? Part 2, the lightweight division.
Hell.
We are going 1 through 15.
Yeah.
Plus an unranked guy.
Yeah.
Who's it going to be? It's probably going to be Michael Chandler, but...
yeah.
And we're going to basically break down who is these guys' next matchup. Who should it be?
There's
no champ... Well, we are going to be operating, I think, as if there is no champion, right? Are we really going
to... Ooh. That's a good question.
I think that's something for us to decide on our own.
Fair enough.
So, we're going to be breaking down who should be next for each guy in this division.
Oh.
And this is a division that's so interesting. It's the best division that the UFC has to offer right now, and it's became so much more interesting and dramatic over these last couple months. So much to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
That's coming to you on Wednesday. Who's Next, Part 2. Friday. You know I'm excited about this one.
Oh, I know. This is a long time coming.
Previewing #UFC Vegas 13.
Yes.
Thiago Santos,
yes.
my boy,
yes,
is back in action,
yes.
headlining against an ageless wonder known as Glover Teixeira.
40 years old and looks better now than arguably ever has before.
It's wild.
One fight away from a title shot, and then Izzy. Anyways.
We'll be breaking down that entire main card.
Another really good fight night. They showed the card last night. I'm like, okay, damn.
Yeah. You just said Ian Heinisch is on the top 15.
That's the opening night, or opening fight of the night for main card.
Definitely excited to talk about that one. You know I love my Thiago Santos.
Oh, yeah. Claudia Gadella's fighting.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
But we'll do that on Friday. But tell the good people where they can find you on social media.
Twitter, Instagram, DSlee14. Podcast, Twitter, Instagram, BAJ_MMA podcast.
As for me, if you go to my bio on Twitter or Instagram @NTBaker_, you'll be taken to our link tree where you can find links to all the social media platforms that the podcast is on, along with all of the platforms that the podcast itself is on. Twitter, Instagram's on there, along with the YouTube channel, Anchor page, Spotify, Apple, Google, and a link if you want to become a supporter of the podcast. That just provides us with a little bit of monetary support each month. All that money just gets put back into the podcast to improve the audio equipment, to down the line do a video podcast. Just some fun things. But as always, we appreciate your support no matter how much or how little money you give us. But again, if you go to my Twitter or Instagram @NTBaker_, you'll find that link in my bio. But with that, we're out, and we're going to see y'all on